So, JC, one of the common criticisms from bears this year is that all of the leadership and all of the positive alpha is coming from defensive sectors. Utilities, real estate, staples. What do you make of this? Is this bearish?
So when you look at that, right, at first glance, what are the sectors making new all-time highs on a weekly time frame and a monthly time frame? They're consumer staples, they are utilities, and they're REITs. So just on that information alone, it's like, well, JC, are those the kind of sectors that you want to see leading in a strong bull market? And the answer is no, those are not the sectors you want to see leading. You want to see some other sectors, right? But the truth of the matter is that yes, as a pure definition, which are the ones that made all-time highs? It's those three, right? The defensive areas. But technology's right there. It's about to make new all-time highs, or has been. So is the communications index, which is led by Facebook and Google. Not anything defensive at all. And financials, look at JP Morgan, very close to making all-time highs. Like, these are benchmarks of sectors that I do not consider defensive at all. Consumer discretionary is another one. So yeah, consumer staples doing well. Discretionaries are right there too. So I push back on the defensive rotation and point to some very quote-unquote offensive sectors doing very well.
So how do you measure strength or leadership? Is it based on performance from a certain time frame, or is it based on who's at all-time highs? And the reason I ask is because if you look on a year-to-date basis, tech is actually leading.
So two things. So first of all, like, I think that year-to-date numbers, number one, aren't the greatest source of information, but particularly this year, you know, the year-to-date data, you know, to me, really doesn't tell the story at all. You really got to zoom out, right, particularly over the last couple of years. And the real correction started in January of last year. There's no question about it. So that's really the focus point as far as I'm concerned, that pivot where things changed. So when you ask me, all right, so what do you consider strength? Listen, all-time highs on a monthly basis and all-time highs on a weekly basis in staples, utes, and REITs, that is the sheer definition of strength. There's no question. But it's not, my point, I guess, is it's not just them, right? So when you compare discretionaries, communications, technology, JP Morgan, and you compare it to those January 2018 highs, we are either above that in many of those cases or about to be. So I'm just not sold on it's a narrow market, it's weak breath, it's just defensive areas. I don't buy that at all.
So you're anticipating that sectors like industrials, financials, maybe even materials, discretionary, like you said, tech is right there, will eventually resolve and also make new weekly and monthly all-time highs.
Sector rotation is the lifeblood of a bull market, Mr. Strazza. And, you know, like you and I discussed last week, transports and Russell 2000 and small caps holding those lows and us getting rotation into those areas is bullish for the market. And guess what happened? Buyers came in, we got the rotation into, you know, you're talking about industrials. We were talking more specifically about transports last week, but transports are all under the industrial space. So it's a similar conversation. We're seeing that rotation into transports, industrials, small caps, some of the underperforming areas. And then the areas that had already been performing continue to perform, you know, discretionaries and tech. So to me, I'm seeing that rotation as further evidence that yes, the path of least resistance is in fact higher for stocks. The world, as it turns out, is not coming to an end. This is an environment where we want to be looking for stocks to buy rather than looking for stocks to sell.
All right, JC. Well, it sounds like that kind of stuff is going to be happening in an environment where the major indexes are also making new all-time highs. So, exciting stuff for bulls. We'll check back in next week. Thanks, JC.
All right, Strazza.